Howard. Don't don't worry about me. Don't worry. I'll find a place.
How about a big round of applause for our little stage guy, too? Yeah. Okay, so welcome so much to the Contemporary Jewish Museum. I don't know how many folks are familiar with it. I do know we have a lot of out-of-town guests, so just wanted to point out this place was actually established first in 1984, and this beautiful facility, a Daniel Liebskin design facility, was finished in about 2008, and so we're very happy to be here. The Curry Stone Design Prize has traveled a fair amount across the country. It started in Kentucky. It moved to New York, and then to a humble place called Harvard, back east. And now we're here, out on the West Coast, the left coast, and I am especially honored to be here to welcome you all, to hopefully overcome these dim lights and get you excited about what you're about to see. Because this is a really special award. This is a really special ceremony and a really special night. And I'm excited to tell you a bit about that. But this is also a really special audience. There are amazing leaders that have been at the forefront of this field since its inception. In some cases for decades, certainly for the past number of years. And there are well-known people, and there are people that are the kind of quiet who make this work happen behind the scenes. We have filmmakers here. We have publishers here. One of the publishers who's undertaken almost every major book about this type of work is here with us tonight from Metropolis Books. We have the editor of Architectural Record here. We have nonprofit leaders, including the executive director of the Make It Right Foundation in New Orleans, as well as many local people, well-known architects and little and lesser-known architects. And so one of the things that I love about the Curry Stone Design Prize, especially having been an observer for the past 6 years, but also a juror for this past year, is the range of projects that are under consideration and ultimately awarded. Cliff Curry, who is the architect and the one of the minds behind this important prize, is an architect. And so this could have very easily ended up being yet another solely focused on architecture prize. And that might have been great. But this is about design. And this is about products. It's about systems. It's about services. And it's also, yes, about buildings. And we're going to see some extraordinary buildings from around the world tonight. So one of the things as a juror that I so appreciate is when you show up and you sit around a table, as I know many people in this audience do, and you get more than you could just get off a website. In the case of the Curry Stone Design Prize, thanks to the amazing leadership and research of a whole team of people, but especially the two people that I'll introduce next, we got these extraordinary, beautifully edited, beautifully illustrated dossiers about each and every finalist. And we had a chance, as a result, to have a real conversation about what's working, what makes them unique, and what 3 or 4 or some number of them could be put together to talk about the state of this field of design that is focused on making the world a better place. And I think the 3 honorees and the additional 1 special honoree that you're going to meet tonight all so beautifully represent that. I cannot thank the people who are behind this prize enough. This has done so much to advance this field that I know many of you care so much about. One of the most wonderful gifts that each honoree will get and that we can all share, you can go home tomorrow and tweet these things, Facebook these things, and so on, are the videos that you're going to see tonight that themselves have a whole team of people behind them. So that's an amazing gift beyond the monetary award that our honorees will receive. So with that, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being part of this audience, part of this movement, part of this special prize and this special night. And with that, I'd love to turn it over to 2 exceptional people who will be with us and the kind of masters of ceremonies for the next bit that we're together. The first is Emiliano Gandolfi, and he is very much a curator. He, at the juror table in particular, has just so much to say, so much knowledge about this type of work. He kind of lives and breathes it. He's so proud to be associated with this prize and these honorees, and he's a very special part of the Currystone Design Prize. The other person is Chi Perlman, who is the curator of the prize. She is a journalist, a curator, a special person who is also behind the scenes of so many things that have built this field. So with that, please let me turn it over to Emiliano and Chi, and thank you so much for being here.
Well, good evening. Thank you very much, John Kerry. John has been not only a juror for us, but also somehow an advisor. And he will also be hosting us somehow tomorrow, as he's the director of the Autodesk Impact Design Foundation. And tomorrow we will have Design Like You Give a Damn live in their building. So thank you again, John, for this. I wanted to, first of all, thank you again all to be here. It's quite exciting to see how many people actually joined us in San Francisco. It's amazing that tonight we have a full house. And it's really interesting to see how many people were, really, attentive to follow this event tonight, and how different is the response to social design in different cities. So thank you very much, San Francisco, for this. I'm really sorry that some people actually couldn't be here tonight. There was a waiting list for this event, but I hope they'll be watching the live screening. Well, I think that what's really important to stress tonight is that the Currystone Design Prize has really a very clear mission, and that is to give relevance to social impact design. And in this mission, actually, we started in a quite specific moment. We started 6 years ago, in 2008, a few days actually after the bankruptcy of the Lehman Brothers. So a moment in which we were at the peak of the predatory finance, and in a way it was clear that what was the so-called financial crisis was only the beginning of what also became the urban crisis. Architecture is involved and was involved in making cities that are unsustainable. And so for us, it is extremely important to understand how architecture can also become the solution for this kind of problems. According to UN Habitat 2012, there's 1/3 of the world population that is living in developing countries that live in slums. According to the same report, 2020, there will be 1/3 of the entire world population that will live in slums. I think it's important to show how this divide in between Western countries and developing countries is not actually changing the condition of extreme wealth and the divide between extreme wealth and extreme poverty in our own cities. But these issues are actually not new. We know that in 1889, in the Universal Exposition in Paris, the Tour Eiffel was built. 11 years later, there was another Universal Exposition in Paris in 1900. And in this, as usually Universal Exposition do, was presenting all the mighty new inventions of the industrial world. Every country built a small palace to present these inventions. But out of the glamour, tucked in a small street, there was also another exhibition, still part of the large Universal Exposition, that was called the urban question, the social question. What is quite interesting is that this exhibition was in fact showing how the other side of the development was in fact dealing with poverty, with cases of urban segregation, and with basically what was the common of a shared common enemy, that was the inequalities and the oppression of this area. So it became clear that next to the industrialization, there was also the other side of it. And I think that since then, the social remained the questions for the year to come. So how does the development, how does the industrialization deal with the other side? How does the wealth deal with who constructs this wealth? After World War II in Marseille, between 1948 and 1952, there was a Swiss architect, Le Corbusier, that built a building that remained seminal. It was called l'Unité d'Habitation de Marseille. And it was a very ambitious project that tried, in fact, to bring a community, a rural community, back into a vertical building. The idea of this building was, in fact, to try to keep the social relations of the rural France and to construct a vertical building that would actually function as a town. So he made a 12-story building that had a kindergarten, that had a number of social facilities, that had services. When in fact this building was constructed, it became evident that it was too expensive. So instead of building all the facilities, only the building was built, and the people could actually live there, but without all the facilities. For me, this represents very clearly the divide between building a building that is a hardware and building a software that is a social life that is inside the building. These buildings actually didn't have the software running, so it didn't have the ability to build a community within the building. It didn't have the possibility to build life and interaction within the building. So this brings us up to today, in which modernism started building more and more cities, in which we're building actually mostly the hardware of the cities. Architects are more and more involved in building new condos, in building, if they're lucky, museums, in building new facilities, but they're less and less involved in building what's the soft part, the community. So I thought that the Curry Stone became more and more interested in this other side of architecture, in building what's in between the walls, in building the software, the functioning software that actually brings life to our buildings. And I thought that it should be finally important to offer to not see these as grand solutions. We're not looking for a solution that will solve all the problems of the inequality of the world. We're not looking for a solution that will address all the different problems. What we're looking with the Curry Stone Design Prize is, in fact, at the very local condition. So we're trying to learn from local conditions, and we're trying to look for designers that see the different potentials of this condition, and in fact, with intelligence, understand how to develop small ideas that are implemented locally. These small ideas implemented locally are actually altogether creating the inspiration for a new generation of designers. They're creating the inspiration for a new generation of citizens that are strongly becoming responsible to being active citizens and not just being spectators of a city that has become always more overwhelming. So in this perspective, the winners of this year are actually showing extremely local solution to extremely local problems with an extremely intelligent system and procedures. These procedures are actually telling us in an enormous amount of information on how some of these problems can be addressed. And they are actually bringing us the inspiration to look at our problems in our own house, in our own cities, and try to address things differently, trying to give the main attention to how things function, and try to give the main attention on how things could actually work with a much more clear attention to the social question. So today, I'm really excited for something that is quite special. This is the 6th edition of the prize. Until now, we always had a few weeks of presentation of a press release that came out with the name of the winners before the award ceremony. But this is not it's not like this today. Today, for the first time, we're presenting the winners, so it's quite exciting that it will be a surprise. We've been working with the winners for quite a long time, preparing the videos, and that I think will tell you a lot about their work, and that will help to disseminate their strategies much further in the world. I wanted mostly to thank all the people that work with us to understand mostly the work of the winners, and actually to disseminate the word through the videos, through the press release, through the tweets, and through the Facebook accounts. I think that really it's not only about the work that these people are doing, but it's really a lot about how much we all can talk about these projects and how we all can communicate this different sensitivity to other people and try slowly to build a new understanding of what design can be and can do. With this intention, I wanted to call, to actually announce the first winner. The first winner of this year comes from India, from Bhuj. There is a small town in Gujarat. It's a small city in Gujarat, very close to the border with Pakistan. I had the luck to go there a few months ago to see their work, and it was completely overwhelming to see the capacities of this group of people to understand the specific local issues of a city that lies in the desert, and that actually was affected in 2001 by a destructive earthquake that destroyed most of the city, and how they actually were able to build with the local understanding of what were the potentials. And in this case, the potential there was a huge knowledge of local artisans that knew how to build. So these architects that are called Hunarshala were able to develop a strategy in which local inhabitants and artisans were able to rebuild part of their city. What was really unique was that this knowledge that it was usually considered marginal, it was usually considered close to disappear, became the real asset of understanding a architecture and a design that could be exactly perfect for local exigencies and can slowly be the engine to build a new attention to local communities and can actually build new possibilities in Indian cities. I wanted to, first of all, to introduce the video, and then we will actually meet the winner.
In 2001, a massive earthquake shook Gujarat, a state in northern India. Centered around the city of Bhuj, the quake killed 30,000 people and left 500,000 homeless. To rebuild, a group of local architects and engineers formed Hunarshala. Amid the flood of international aid, Hunarshala took a unique approach, emphasizing community participation, traditional building designs, and local know-how.
Our work is entirely based on legitimizing and giving dignity to the building artisan community that has been the repository of so much of knowledge. And the other is just the rural communities. They have so much beauty and so much knowledge related with their built forms.
At a time when disaster relief was trending toward prefab housing, Hunarshala went in the opposite direction, helping local villagers build thousands of earthquake-resistant homes with traditional technologies such as rammed earth.
A lot of these materials like earth or bamboo, which are now being considered as environmentally good materials, were not being given a lot of importance, say 20 years ago. These knowledge systems in the villages were considered backward, and modernizing India was looking at steel and concrete as their materials for construction. But we have a hot climate, and temperatures vary so much between the night and the day, and concrete cracks in such situations.
To create buildings right for the region's climate, Hunarshala works with artisans whose craft has been shaped by those same local conditions. This workers' canteen, designed by Hunarshala, uses slatted walls for light and ventilation. The structure was built from reclaimed wood by a group of local carpenters.
The implementation of these programs is within the hands of the communities themselves and their artisans, and not the juggernaut of contractors and developer lobbies. This entire building activity creates new artisans, new employment opportunities, and the cultural expression of their own communities is expressed the way they would like it to be.
Hunarshala's emphasis on community participation also extends to advocacy work in urban planning and low-income housing development.
Hunarshala, as members and citizens of the city, decided that we must focus on how cities should develop. We help the government and the citizens create dialogues and develop a vision for the city. We also helped about 500 families build their homes and developed a master plan for drinking water and solid waste management. Each community can sit down together and vision their future and see that this redevelopment actually helps them improve their economic conditions.
In the years after their earthquake, Hunarshala began to work internationally on post-disaster reconstruction, implementing traditional building techniques from other communities. It's also brought these techniques back to Gujarat and taught them to local artisans. As part of its economic development work, Hunarshala supports these artisans in starting their own businesses, like this women's collective, specializing in thatched roof construction.
પેન્ડલનું તો ઇન્ડોનેશિયા ગયા હતા ને તો ઉहाँ બનાવી હશે પેન્ડલ તો ઉहाँથી શોધી આવ્યા હતા એમ ઇન્ડોનેશિયાથી તો પછી અહીંયા આવીને અમને પહેલી વાર પરસ્પર શીખવાડ્યું એમ અમદાવાદમાં સ્કૂલનું કામ કર્યું હતું જે અમે 14 લાખનું કર્યું છે કામ કાર્ડ બી અમારા છપાવ્યા છે એમાં અમે બહેનો ને પછી એના એ કામ અમે કર્યું ને અમને કામ બધા મળ્યા ને અમને ફાયદો મળ્યો 12 મહિને તો એનામાંથી અમને ઘણું બધો અમારી જિંદગીમાં જ બદલાવ આવી ગયો છે એમ તો બહેનો બારે નીકળે કે ના નીકળવું જોઈએ એવું બધું લાગતો હતો પણ હવે એવું બધું એમ થાય છે મનમાં કે બહેનો બધું કરી શકે છે એમ
Bringing architects and engineers together with the building communities of this region gives rise to a lot of creative solutions. There's a huge knowledge system that exists in our cultures, and when we sit down with them, we take tradition forward. That is what has been the engine of Hunarshala.
If you want to come on the other side, there's plenty of seats, so don't worry to pass. Ladies and gentlemen, it's with a great pleasure that I'll introduce you here the first winner, the first 2013 Curry Stone Design Prize winner, Kiran Vaghela from Hunarshala.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Good evening. I'm Kiran Vaghela, one of the founder member and managing director of Hunarshala Foundation. Hunar in our language, it means artistic hand skill, and Sala means school. That's the name of our organization stands for. We have set up this organization to create a platform on which traditional knowledge and wisdom link with the modernity to address the issue of socio-environmental crisis that we are facing in current time. Main objective of Hunarshala are to understand traditional knowledge, validate it through the scientific research, and link it with the contemporary application. To work for the disaster-affected communities' rehabilitation work through the participatory approach. To develop sustainable technology and extension of this technology, we have set up this objective for our organization. I thank Curry Stone Design Prize on behalf of a large team of Hunarshala Foundation for this award. In this very moment, it seems and felt like modernity and traditional culture come together to celebrate human spirit on this platform. I will take this spirit of celebration as an honor with me. I hope we together will engage ourselves to find solution of socio-environmental crisis we all are facing globally. In this overwhelming moment, I'm not able to resist myself to share a quote by John Lennon. A dream you dream alone is only a dream. A dream you dream together is reality. Thank you, everybody. Yeah.
Again, thank you, Kiran. Well, we'll go on with the second winner of tonight. The second winner is actually, it's a collaboration. The jury was really struck by a collaboration between an NGO from Italy that has been building healthcare facilities in critical areas in the world, mostly in war-torn regions or in places affected by extreme poverty, that is called emergency. And they've been collaborating for a long time now with a studio of architects in Venice called the TAM Associati. TAM Associati somehow became the interpret of the needs of this NGO. And not only, but they could also really understand the local exigencies of a population that is really living in conditions of extreme poverty, and also psychologically it's actually afflicted by a situation of trauma. And they could actually form and build hospitals that are not only creating the best healthcare facilities for free on a world standard, but they actually created also places for social inclusion, places where people could meet, and places that would become a new standard for community gathering and health. So I would like to introduce you today two people that are here for receiving the prize. Raul Pantaleo from TAM Associati. So being Raul an Italian, I got a bit excited, and I called them before the video, so I think we'll show before the video, and then I'll call Raul and Rossella to the stage. Sorry. So we'll see first the video presenting the work, and then they'll come. Thank you.
The Emergency costruisce ospedali di chirurgia di guerra per operare e garantire assistenza alle vittime civili.
We started collaboration with Emergency in 2004. I told him, well, look, I never designed a hospital in my life. The only thing they were asking was that the hospital has to be scandalosamente bello.
Outrageously beautiful.
Yes. Beauty becomes a sort of first message you give to the patient, that you consider them as equal. So the beauty of the hospital is part of the process of taking care of the patient.
Portiamo in Africa un ospedale che dia un messaggio, e cioè quello di riconoscimento della stessa dignità e degli stessi diritti.
The first project was Salam Center in Khartoum, Sudan. Then we did a pediatric clinic in Bangui, Central African Republic. Then we did the pediatric center in Darfur.
Il primo grande must è bisogna costruire strutture che non costino tanto, non in termini di costruzione ma in termini di gestione, di running cost. E qui tutti i discorsi legati appunto alle modalità di trattamento aria, condizionamento, gestione tutto dell'intero sistema.
Il Sudan, zona subsahariana, con temperature che possono raggiungere anche i 50 gradi. Per cui la scelta di costruire degli edifici con muri di grande spessore, diciamo, costruissero doppie pelli, cioè il fatto di avere la struttura centrale dell'ospedale protetta dalla pelle esterna è stato uno degli elementi fondamentali. L'altro aspetto importantissimo è stato quello del trattamento dell'aria. In Sudan abbiamo un grosso problema che deriva dalla bub. La bub sono delle tempeste di sabbia enormi, la sabbia è una sabbia sottilissima, è come un talco, per cui questo ovviamente per quanto riguarda qualunque tipo di struttura sanitaria è un grossissimo problema. L'idea è quella di captare l'aria ad altezza dal suolo, dove è più pulita, portarla nell'interrato. Come è stato fatto è una specie di gymkhana di muri dove l'urto meccanico del flusso dell'aria deposita la sabbia sul pavimento, per cui questo ci permette di comunque raffrescare e condizionare la struttura anche in assenza di elettricità. Vedere un luogo pulito, dove ci sono i colori, dove è tutto pulito, ma non soltanto dal punto di vista igienico, anche che c'è cura nelle cose, ci sono le piante, ci sono le cose in ordine. Questo fa la differenza.
Il diritto alle cure, il riconoscimento della dignità per ciascuno di accedere a un trattamento sanitario quando ne ha bisogno.
Non li consideri come pazienti, li consideri come ospiti, come persone che hanno diritto ad essere curate, a stare bene. E sicuramente questo è stato un grandissimo merito di Emergency, di aver riconosciuto l'architettura è diventato uno strumento di cura.
So once more, let me introduce you to Raul Pantaleo, co-founder of TAM Associati, and Rossella Miccio, Emergency.
Thank you very much, Emiliano, and everybody at the Cariston Design Prize for thinking about having an NGO as a winner, together with our long-lasting friends from TAM Associati for this incredible award. Emergency is an NGO that has been dealing in the past 20 years with victims of war and poverty in the most desperate places on earth. And I would have never thought in my 13 years of cooperation with Emergency that our work would be of interest for someone who is working in the architecture and the design field. So this is really an honor and a real pleasure for us, particularly because this is highlighting what we've always thought since the very beginning. And that is that hospitals and health facilities are not, in particular settings and contexts, are not just places where the wounds of the people are healed, but they are also the places where the spirit of these people can be healed, where people can get back part of their dignity, where children can get back part of their carefree childhood that war and poverty have taken away from their lives. So we've always thought that Hospitals have to be hospitable places, beautiful places, not just clean and efficient from the health point of view, but also they have to provide beautiful environment, because that is also part of the healing process. So we're really happy that this is something that has been recognized by the Carrystone, and we are really happy that we have found a partner along the way, a traveler companion into this journey that is Tamas Society. So it's really a big pleasure for us to be here, and just thank you so much.
Well, I think that our experiences in these 10 years somehow has been a sort of realization of our dream to match together our will of social engagement and our work as architect. So this experience we went through in the project of a hospital in war-torn area or in very poor area somehow let us understand the importance of our work as architect, because somehow we rediscover what architecture means. Architecture somehow has the capacity to show the dream, to show the utopia that is behind ideas, organization, people that are working. And the first thing that you see when you get to a hospital is the facade, is the building, is the garden. And so this makes sense, because that makes the difference when the architecture is able to translate value in a volume that is helping people to understand that you are really taking care. So I think that the extraordinary experience of working in this very, very poor area and very poor condition helped us to understand what the really deep meaning of architecture, that is to show the capacity of imagining something different. And it has been something that we did together with many people, with many friends. And here I would like to thank also the companion in my office, Massimo and Laura, that are here. And please stand up. And also an artist that let us realize one of the projects, that's Massimo Grimaldi, is here as well. So thank you very much for this prize that somehow is recognizing this big dream of imagining a different architecture. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Rosella and Raul. Well done. Hi, my name is Chi Perlman, and it is great to bring the Carrystone Design Prize to San Francisco. We're so clearly here in the epicenter of design thinking. You make us feel really welcome, and we thank you for that so much. As you can see from the first two winners, the scope of the Carrystone Design Prize is truly global. And that trend is just about to continue. Our next winner is a husband and wife team who set out 10 years ago to tackle poverty in one of the world's most isolated countries, Myanmar. They brought with them backgrounds in economics and business, but most importantly, they knew that to change world poverty, they would have to build systems. Systems not only for finding the best designs, but also systems that could tackle testing, manufacturing, distribution, build entire distribution networks, and then also financing for their customers. This team is a powerful case study for bringing true design thinking to social enterprise. We're so pleased with this award to share the story of Jim and Debbie Taylor of Proximity Design. Let's have a look at the video.
I grew up in Southeast Asia and always was interested in the issues of poverty. And in Myanmar, the backbone of the country, are millions of small farms and households, and they are also at the epicenter of extreme poverty.
When we decided to move to Myanmar in 2004, we thought, how can we help people, families, and farmers improve their productivity? And one of the obvious places is in irrigation. Farmers were using ancient techniques, backbreaking drudgery work, to irrigate their crops during the non-monsoon season. Motorized pumps and electricity was totally out of their reach, unavailable. But we began to see how these foot-operated pumps, which had been around for 20 years around the world, other countries, could relieve tremendous burden and make people much more productive. We began to use these same kind of models in Myanmar and quickly saw vast areas for improvement. So we thought, is there a way to use design to make these products easier to use and more affordable? Within 6 months, we had begun to manufacture the first products.
So there were two big ideas that drove the design of the hybrid pump. The first idea is that the pump itself could act as one leg of a tripod, and farmers could provide the other two legs with bamboo or wood or whatever they had in the field and just put them in these slots right there. So we were able to save on the costs of the frame and still maintain all of the critical geometries that were necessary to guarantee good performance. The second thing that we did is we created this rocker arm mechanism. And the rocker arm links the two treadles together. And that created a much smoother motion, and farmers were able to get more efficiency out of their pump. When we launched this pump, farmers started buying this like hotcakes. And this has become, since then, the best-selling proximity pump of all time.
Yeah, when we started out, we just wanted to bring this great product to farm families. I mean, we didn't know we were going to be doing product financing. But then you quickly realize, oh no, in order to afford it, they need financing, installment, payment plans. Our customers are basically making $1 or $2 a day, so they don't have the cash at all to buy these, outright.
So we began to offer installment loans, so people would pay a little bit down, and then over the course of 4 or 5 months, repay the amount they borrowed to purchase the product.
For a $20 pump, they could increase their incomes net about $200 at the end of the season. So that's a really good return and payback. Treating people as customers is central to how we think, because I think as a customer, you're on an equal footing, and it's an exchange. Customer is king, so you pay attention to their needs, their aspirations, and that really defines how we work. I mean, we have customers who tell us, a 60-year-old farmer who says, my grandfather and my father lived and died by the watering cans, hauling, 200 trips a day, 40 pounds on each side. And he said, now because of your technology, I don't even touch a watering can. And I'm so glad to say that none of my children will.
I'm so pleased to welcome to the stage Jim Taylor, here from Myanmar. Welcome, Jim, and congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here tonight. And on behalf of my wife, Debbie, and co-founder of Proximity, I just want to thank the Curry Stone Foundation for this award. We're really honored to receive it. You know, Debbie and I have been on a really wonderful journey together for over the last 20 years of our lives, and you've seen this latest chapter. We've spent almost the last 10 years in Myanmar, but actually our journey started in rural Mississippi. That's where we met and worked in the African-American community there in one of the poorest counties in America. We spent 4 years living there, and I think from that time we really learned the importance of our name proximity, that to tackle the problems, the complex problems of poverty, takes deep knowledge and understanding. And that sort of lesson has stayed with us throughout our careers. We moved from Mississippi to post-war Cambodia in the late 80s. And then we spent 6 years in Indonesia. And then a number of years here in California. And then in early 2004, we packed up our 2 children and moved to Myanmar with trying to see if this social enterprise approach could really tackle the problems of poverty there. And one of the themes that began to emerge in our lives at that point was we found we really enjoyed working and living in difficult places. And Myanmar certainly was a challenge for us. You know, we didn't start this journey as designers. Both of us are trained as economists. But we began to see through our work in Myanmar and our connection with the design community how powerful design can be to bring about meaningful change. And I think what resonated with us was design's deep commitment and focus on a user and being really user-centered and developing deep empathy for users, and that profoundly it really is an affirmation of their dignity. And I think that's a truly remarkable contribution that design brings to this field of development and poverty. You saw some stories here on our film of farmers, and one of the ones that was most inspiring to me happened a few years ago. I met a family, a young family, who was one of the poorest families in their village, and they made their living, the husband made his living by climbing up really tall palm trees and collecting the juice out of, it's called toddy palm juice. And this is one of the lowest jobs in a community. It's sort of the bottom of the barrel. And he fell out of a tree and injured his back and was unable to farm. And so his wife and young child were really at a loss what they were going to do. And one of our staff suggested they get one of these treadle pumps and so they could irrigate their land. Well, they did, and they were able to farm, and they actually began to increase their income, and so he didn't have to climb these trees anymore. And about 2 months after the accident, we ran into him in the village, and he said, "You know, before in this village, I was a nobody, and now I'm a somebody." And I think it's those stories that happen thousands of times a year in Myanmar now, where people's lives are genuinely changed. And that's what I think inspires us and keeps us motivated and strongly believe that design is making a difference in the world on a large scale. And we just want to thank again the Curry Stone Foundation for this honor, and thank you all for coming tonight and sharing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. It's great to have you here. Our next award is very special. In so many ways, we're here tonight to celebrate design, really good social design, because of 2 brave and passionate people who began a movement 15 years ago. Kate Storr and Cameron Sinclair were just kids, like that size. Maybe a little bigger. They were kids. They were kids barely out of school, but they were ready to change the world. From their tiny Manhattan studio, they launched a design competition to address the growing housing crisis of Kosovo refugees. The response was immediate and overwhelming. They received hundreds of ideas and piles of presentation boards that stacked up in their little apartment. But more importantly, they engaged the best and brightest in their field to think deeply about how they could serve those who needed their talents most. Fast forward for a few years, and think of being at an AIA conference. Cliff Curry is sitting there, and he's in a comfy chair, and this guy comes running by carrying a book called Design Like You Give a Damn. Cliff jumps up and he says, "Hey, what is that book about?" This is how Cameron and Kate met Cliff. Cliff and Delight were very inspired by their work at Architecture for Humanity, and this led to the germ that led to the Curry Stone Design Prize. Our final video shows how much Kate, Cameron, and Architecture for Humanity have fiercely disrupted the status quo. They have put humanitarian design in the mainstream conversation and given it a rightful seat at the table. Their influence on a new generation of practitioners will be felt for years to come. For these and many more reasons, Kate and Cameron are the recipients of the first Curry Stone Design Prize Vision Award. Let's see the video.
And architects do look at the world differently. You know, where other people see a blank spot or devastation or poverty, architects see an opportunity to do something beautiful. And I think that makes them really different.
Nobody thinks about complex problems using architecture as his medium. And Cameron Sinclair, ladies and gentlemen, Cameron Sinclair.
A good designer has great ideas, a great designer implements them.
I was lecturing around the country about, architects can make a difference in the world, but didn't really have much to go on other than my unending optimism that we could.
This isn't just about nonprofit. What it showed me is that there's a grassroots movement going on of socially responsible designers who really believe that this world has got a lot smaller and that we have the opportunity to really get involved in making change. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of architects and designers and inventors around the world that are getting involved in humanitarian work.
The phrase "design like you give a damn" came just out of frustration, that we should just make a difference.
There are a number of great groups out there doing this work. And I think the whole point of Design Like You Give a Damn is just to highlight them, to learn from them, to talk to each other. It really came out of the fact that a lot of architects wanted to do this work. And they, like us, were looking for ways to do it.
We actually got the deal to write the book in 2004 when we were a tiny organization, really doing one project a year. And in the time we got to start writing the book, there was a tsunami in Southeast Asia.
There was literally $250,000 in unsolicited donations in our Architecture for Humanity PayPal account.
We went from suddenly being this tiny design-based nonprofit to working in multiple countries at the same time. And we had to kind of learn on the fly.
A lot of people were talking to us about scale, and they had this idea of scale being replicate a building 1,000 times, right? Make the most efficient prefab model you could possibly do and replicate that 1,000 times. And our view on that is no, scale is you have 1,000 different solutions that people can replicate and adapt and change that are right for that circumstance. But do that 1 billion times, right? That's what's scalable, is people getting out there and doing this work and learning it.
One of the biggest challenges humanitarian design faces is the old adage of we're just getting a roof over their heads, which means that the bar is set really low. And when you're working on, say, a housing development that you're trying to integrate stormwater management, sanitation, schools, health clinics, trying to make a really holistic community, you have all the voices around you that are just saying, listen, you can just save a lot of time, money, and energy if you just give them a basic roof over the head, right? That's all they want. But that's not what they want. They want to aspire to a community that is as strong, as rich as anything we would want to live in. Part of that equation is to create gathering spaces that everyone feels safe. We just finished a project in Rwanda that brought together Hutu and Tutsi kids using sports as a mechanism to do reconciliation. These are kids who were born after the genocide. All the non-profits who were there right after the genocide to now have had to deal with this heavy weight, this heavy burden. We get to come in and build a solution.
I think Architecture for Humanity differs from a traditional architecture firm in that it is not localized around the practice of one designer or one aesthetic or one programmatic area. Most of the mission of Architecture for Humanity is actually to empower other architects. A lot of our funding goes to provide design grants to humanitarian architects the world over.
We act almost as developers, if you will, coordinating both the financing, client relations, overseeing the quality of the construction, and then finally, just as importantly, monitoring and evaluation in the short term and the long term.
The most common frustration that we find in working with architects all over the world is that they have so many good ideas. They're so civically minded. They know what needs to get done, but the funding isn't there, and they don't know how to get it. We have the capabilities. We've built the critical mass. We have an engine that can raise money and empower these architects to do what they want to do.
In terms of completed projects, I'm really proud of a lot of our post-disaster reconstruction work. It doesn't matter if it's Haiti or Japan, it's the commitment to a community. And we've said that we'll build 5 schools. We've ended up building 20. We said that we'll build 7 homes. We've been involved in 700.
The emphasis is really on partnership. We are bringing expertise that has been accrued as an international organization dealing with post-disaster reconstruction. We partner that with the local expertise that someone can only get by having been a practicing architect in that country for their whole lives.
We realized that what needed to be done post-Katrina was huge. And we did a couple of things that end up being now hallmarks of how Architecture for Humanity works. We actually needed a team of people working together, and not all of them needed to be architects. We needed people who were case managers, we needed people who were liaising with government, and we needed construction managers. And what was happening was, if you were a homeowner, to talk to any one of those groups of people, you had to go to 8 different offices. Imagine, like you've just lost your house, and they're sending you on this daily runaround to all these offices. So we decided to take all of that and put them all in one place. Somebody would come in and they would be able to get all the services that they needed in one place. And they knew that if they came back tomorrow, the same people would be there to help them. I remember one of our clients had been broken into in her trailer and she was scared. And she didn't call the police. She called the Community Design Center, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. But that was the level of trust and engagement that they had. They knew if they called the Community Design Center, someone would do something about it and help them.
Architects want to help, they want to get involved. And I think Kate and Cameron and everybody else at Architecture for Humanity has spent 14 years creating these systems that can catalyze that effort and build on that goodwill.
I hope that Design Like You Give a Damn and this network of amazing people that we brought together become a resource for the next generation of architects. And it's not so hard for them to figure out how to make a difference in the places that they love.
That's a serious credit roll. I'm going to ask Kate and Cameron, come on up here, and let's just have a big, big, warm applause for you two.
Do rock, paper, scissors, right? Well, how do you want to do it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, ready? Okay. For those who don't know, every day for the last 15 years, Kate and I have played rock, paper, scissors. Usually because we agree on almost everything. So, if we have to make a decision, and it's usually the problem when you agree on everything is the things you disagree on are a nuance. They don't actually matter that much. And so you end up arguing about something that you both kind of agree on. So rock, paper, scissors is a great management technique. There are so many people to thank. First of all, Cliff and Delight, incredible couple. This prize is not only rivals the Pritzker, but certainly outdoes itself, honoring collectives of architects, and certainly those of us who've worked together a long time. Chi, of course, I'm only signaling her out. I'm a little confused, and maybe afterwards, when you guys get drinks, you can ask her. The last time I received an award where Chi was on the jury, she kind of blushed and said, "We actually selected you in the jacuzzi." So I don't know how the selection was made this time. Maybe she could talk about it a little later. Really at the heart of Architecture for Humanity is not Kate and I. This organization, although it's 15 years old, actually was conceived about 35 years ago when I was living in London as a young kid and thought that living in crappy environments sucks. And if you can design it better, then maybe people will treat each other better. A few years later, I met Kate briefly. So we've known each other for 30 years. And then around about 20 years ago, we embarked on this crazy journey. But it didn't really take off until one thing happened, and that's the people that make it happen. It's not her and I, it's really the volunteers, the designers, and the staff that we've had over the last 15 years that have really become the strength of the organization. To give you a sense, just on the idea of our chapters, if you count up every chapter member that we currently have, it's around 6,800 members, which would take us to being the largest architecture firm in the world. Billing is not so great, but it's certainly large. Yeah, people can help. You can see who does the fundraising. But really, what's really kicked it off is the idea of design fellowship. And you've seen it in the video. And these are architects, designers, young, mid-career, that dedicated upwards of 2 years of their lives to live in the villages, towns, and cities where we've been able to respond. And it's that consistency and the sort of dignity and respect that they've gained by committing to that community that's really allowed our organization to shine. And, whether it be our first volunteer, which her name's Susan Surface, and she first volunteered for us because 4 lectures in a row, there was somebody sitting in the front row staring at me nonstop, and it got kind of weird to the point where I went up to her and I said, "This is my 4th city, and are you following me? Like, is this a stalker issue?" And it turns out that she just wanted to work for us and didn't have the courage to say, "I want to work for you." So I said, "Well, show up tomorrow. That's how you work for us." To many of the architects that we've worked with that have gone on to do incredible things after Architecture for Humanity, whether it be Matt Miller, who went on to co-found Project H, or many other architects that have gone on to start their own firms and infuse the idea of socially relevant design in commercial practice. For me, poignantly, one of our last design fellows kind of sums up my feelings towards the organization and what we've achieved and the sort of, just the level of commitment that these architects and designers have had. and I know I haven't talked to Kate about saying this, but I think it's important. We lost a design fellow earlier this year, and it was tough on all of us. But for me, the hardest bit of seeing Nathan and his family, and I have to say that our staff in our office here and around the world did an incredible job. It was that moment that I realized that we were a family that support each other. But the thing that really kind of galvanized to me the impact that we've made, Nathan was a young architect. He was the only child that went to college, lived in a very disadvantaged community in England, which funnily enough is exactly what happened to me, only kid in college, growing up in a disadvantaged community in England. And he was the last design fellow that I actually encouraged to join us. And at his funeral, I'm standing next to the grave watching his sisters fill it. Emmy, one of them, grabbed my arm and said, "You know, Nathan came home at Christmas and he was just beaming. And he said to us, 'I'm doing the one thing I've always wanted to do in my life, and I couldn't think of anything else for the rest of my life that's going to match what I'm doing now.'" So for me, this organization has been bound by a mission and a focus to make a difference in the people's lives. But what it's done is it's changed the lives of everyone involved. So I want to thank you, and I'm going to pass this on to Kate, because I know she's got something much wiser and less emotional. I don't know yet. We'll find out.
Thank you. Thank you to the entire Currystone Design team. I know how tirelessly you work to honor the profession and to raise its profile, so thank you very much. This is an incredibly meaningful honor, especially coming from so many people that we've worked with and come to love over all these years. Thank you very much for all of you for coming out tonight. There's always a debate when you're doing community design work. People say to me, is that a client? Who's the client? Is the funder the client? Yeah, my staff is laughing. Is the funder the client? Is the community member the client? The fact is that every one of us is a client of community design every single day. And for me, I was very lucky. I did travel a lot, but when I traveled, I got to hang out in communities and work with community members, whether they were funders or community foundations or just people living there. And I think the thing that makes our clients different, and all of you know who work in this field and are passionate about it, is that when a disaster happens, our clients don't leave. They stay. And when banks foreclose on properties, our clients don't leave. They stay. And when their block is labeled bullet block, our clients don't leave. They stay. And it's been such an honor to work with our clients, which number in the tens of thousands over these last many years, and to be a part of their communities. So thank you very, very much.
That was really very moving. Thank you. In fact, this whole evening has been just so warm and so profound, and it's wonderful to hear these voices really with such a dignified and the ability to bring so much dignity to the work that they do and to the people who they serve. All of us at Currystone Design Prize are just thrilled that you're here. We want to thank you. before you leave, we'd like to actually we'd like to leave you with a couple of invitations. And one of those invitations is for you to leverage the power of your social media and use our hashtag, which we have up here, and get the word out, because the videos are all going up on our website right now. So they're posted now. You can see them all there. So we want to share them as far and as wide as we can. We also want to encourage you and hope to see you tomorrow at the Design Like You Give a Damn conference. All of our winners from this evening will be presenting there. So right after lunch at 12:30, they will each have a longer opportunity to talk about their work and to show you more in depth some of the things that they've been thinking about and working on. So come for the entire conference. You can still get tickets online. You can also come for the 12:30 session. Everyone is invited. Just come and say you're with Curry Stone Design Prize. We'll see how that works. Okay. There's one other thing I'd like to invite you to do, which is to join me and all of my colleagues at the Curry Stone Design Prize in thanking Cliff Curry and Delight Stone. And if they would just stand up for one moment, please. They really are the true heroes of this evening and of this whole initiative. They have just an extraordinary sense of vision, and they're such a pleasure to work with. It's really wonderful to see it all come together and to be able to have you join us for this. I also want to say thank you and good night to our live stream here in the museum. We are all going to retire for a nice party upstairs. So join us upstairs. All of our winners will be there, and we'd love to see you there and have a moment to talk with you all. So thank you, and we'll see you in a moment. Thanks.